ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
We're here today at the Cam Henderson Center for today's game between the Marshall Thundering Herd and the James Madison Dukes. That gets underway tonight, 7 o'clock. We're going to have that game for you right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Welcome into today's edition of The Drive. Paul Swann, your host. We're here until the conclusion of this one, and hopefully the Herd can get a win. They need a win. They are on a losing streak right now. The Thundering Herd, 3-game losing streak, losing to Troy, App, and then Coastal. The last time the Herd won was actually back on February 2nd, and it was against Coastal Carolina. So you went into that game against Coastal thinking you have a shot at winning this one again. Marshall losing that one 74-67. So here we are, Marshall needing a win desperately. Believe it or not, Marshall actually still has a shot at winning at least or earning one of those 4 spots that will get you further through the tournament. Marshall is still in striking distance of Louisiana. Louisiana right now is 9-5. Marshall's only 2 games back. With 4 to go, Marshall has an opportunity to catch up to Louisiana and secure one of those 4 spots. Most likely it would be the 4 seed. But Marshall's got some work to do, and some other things are going to happen in the league. Louisiana probably will win tomorrow against Louisiana Monroe. And there are a couple other teams that are ahead of the Herd right now. Since Marshall dropped to 7-7 in Sun Belt play, a couple of teams got ahead of Marshall. One of those teams is Southern Miss. Southern Miss is 8-6, so you're going to need a South Alabama victory over Southern Miss tomorrow to help. You're also going to need a little bit more help as far as Troy and Arkansas State's concerned. Troy 11-3, Arkansas State's 8-6. I like Troy in that one. So you have some possibilities here. If both Arkansas State and Southern Miss lose, those teams will be 8-7. But Marshall's got to win to keep with those two. And then Marshall's got to hope that Louisiana actually stumbles a couple of places and loses at Louisiana Monroe. That's going to be the key right there. Marshall's got to keep pace with those 2 teams that are ahead of the Thundering Herd and hope that Louisiana stumbles a couple more times to give Marshall an opening to get that 4 spot. Whatever the case may be, Marshall, of course, will be in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. So that's not the issue. Everybody's fighting for seeding right now. And so Marshall needing this one. These are the last 2 games here at home for the season. Marshall has App State on Saturday, and that game's going to be a different air time than usual. We were expecting that game to be a 4 o'clock tip on Saturday, but it got moved. Now it's going to be a television game. We'll go on the air at 5 with a 6 o'clock tip. It's going to be on ESPN2. So Marshall has an opportunity these next 2 games to beat 2 of the best in the league, make a statement. Doesn't matter if Marshall finishes 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th in the tournament, but if you can get these 2 games back-to-back, and then you can go win out the rest of the schedule, and those games are winnable. Georgia Southern and Georgia State. I'm not saying that Marshall will win, but those games are winnable. And so if Marshall can win those next 2 games on the road after sweeping James Madison and App State this weekend, Marshall's going to have a strong case for that run in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. And that's what Dan D'Antoni's been pushing. He's been pointing to that in his conversations. We spoke to him earlier this week. He wants Herd fans to come out, support this team. Doesn't want to hear any whining. Doesn't want to hear Marshall fans bad-mouthing this team. Instead, he wants to see Herd fans come out, support the team, get behind these guys. He said he's not going to quit. He said the team's not going to quit. And so looking for a good crowd here tonight on a Wednesday night at the Cam Henderson Center. Will we get it? That's to be seen. But I expect a good crowd on Saturday, but it's going to also be the home finale for the Thundering Herd. Doesn't matter what happens on Saturday unless we get the win tonight here at the Henderson Center. We've got a couple of people scheduled to come on with us later on. We're going to hear from Ryan Crisp in a few minutes. Ryan, of course, is one of the marketing directors here at Marshall University. We'll get an update on him, what's happening. Baseball, we're close to finally opening up the new ballpark, Jack Cook Field. Also, some good stuff happening with the women as well. Everything you need to know ticket-wise. Ryan's going to join us here in the next few minutes. We'll talk to him. And then, since we're here at the Henderson Center and Luke's always early to come work, we're going to grab Luke Creasy for a few minutes and talk to him. Luke, the beat writer covering the Thundering Herd for the Herald-Dispatch. So I'm looking forward to catching up with him, talking a little bit about not only this matchup between Marshall and JMU, but everything happening when it comes to Marshall Athletics. So that's what we've got scheduled. And, of course, we've got your text coming up. Don't forget, we do that. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Now, we're going to give you an opportunity to win tickets to the game on Saturday. If you don't have tickets yet, I've got a 4-pack waiting for you. Well, it's our texter of the day. And usually how this works is when you participate with the show and when you're involved, you have a shot to win tickets. So if your text is pretty good, it gets read on the air, you have an opportunity to win that 4-pack. We'll do a random drawing. But if your text is really good, that's going to probably help your case a little bit. So make them count. Text in. I know, it's an arbitrary system. I know it truly is. And I'm going to actually have to leave that in the hands of Jason Toy, our producer today, back in the studio. So if you don't get the tickets, blame him. I know, he's yelling in my ear right now. Thanks, Paul. He will pick randomly the 4-pack of tickets for Saturday's game, Marshall. The season finale here, regular season finale against App State. And again, don't forget, that's a 6 o'clock tip. That changed from the 4 o'clock tip that was originally scheduled after the time changes for the games on Saturday. So look forward to seeing you. Look forward to hearing from you. Now, when we continue, we're going to try to get him to head up here early. Ryan Crisp. He's going to tell us about everything that's happening promotion-wise with the Thundering Herd, what events we can look forward to, what kind of ticket opportunities we've got. We got baseball and a lot of other things happening here at Marshall. We got baseball coming up, believe it or not. Thundering Herd, baseball in the next few days. Actually, what are we, 9 days away? I think that's what it is, 9 days before we open up Jack Cook Field, and we're going to have select games. I don't know if we've mentioned that just yet, but let me do it now. We've got select games coming up. We'll do all the Saturday games and a few select others. It's going to be our Saturday showcase, Marshall Baseball, back on the radio. Looking forward to that. But when we continue, Ryan Crisp is going to join us. Later on, we'll hear from Luke Creasy, and we'll hear from you. Text line 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. More coming up on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back here to the Cam Henderson Center. Later on this evening, we've got Marshall basketball, the Thundering Herd taking on James Madison. Dan D'Antoni and his squad looking to make a statement before we go on the road for the final time with the Herd and then head to the tournament. But there's a lot of other things happening, not just basketball. We have baseball about ready to begin. That's a reality. And to tell us more about that and everything else that's happening with the Thundering Herd Athletics is the Associate Athletics Director for Annual Giving, Ticket Sales, and Fan Engagement, Ryan Crisp. And I know basketball is your direct focus right now, but you've got baseball just a few short days away. You're all ready to go. Everything's put in place. It's all ready to go. You have nothing else to worry about. Just open the gates, right?
That's right. No, not exactly. We obviously baseball opens a week and 2 days from now. I spent most of my day over there today, and we're getting there with a lot of things. I think it's important to remember that we built a baseball stadium in 16 months, and so there may be some stuff that just throughout the year that gets to a place where it's going to be perfect. There'll definitely be some trial and errors, and kind of funny, the football video board, when it went in, we were there till about 3 a.m. the day before, getting it perfect and setting it all up and getting all the stuff loaded in and all that good stuff. So it may be another one of those situations, but I think for opening weekend, even the first couple weekends, our fans will just be in awe of the stadium itself, the beauty of it, the fact that we have a baseball stadium. And so we'll get there, and it'll be a work in progress, but things are coming along nicely, and we'll still put on a good show come March 1st.
What do you need fans to know when they show up for the first time? Where do they park? Where do they enter? What are those things that maybe you've relayed a couple of times, but you still would like to relay to make sure it's a habit with everyone coming for the first time, or maybe the fifth or sixth time?
Yeah, for sure. I think the first thing, your first step should definitely be to purchase tickets ahead of time. There is obviously a ticket office at the baseball stadium, but just to avoid the long lines and to guarantee you a ticket into the first few games here, I would strongly encourage you to purchase ahead of time. Parking is going to be available in the West lot, as well as for opening weekend, the ACF lot on 5th Avenue there. So those are going to be the two main lots that you'll be able to get into. And then as far as entry points, there's three main entry points into the stadium. One's on the first base line, one's right behind home plate, and one's on the first base line. Third base line and home plate would be for anyone that already has a ticket. The first base line, is going to be for anyone that needs a ticket, because the ticket office is located right next to that entry point. So either way, you're going to be in good position. Very easy to maneuver throughout the ballpark. If you're buying a single game and you have a standing room ticket, there is plenty of space in the left field line. There's a big concrete pad along with a huge grass area. There's also plenty of room behind the main seating bowl. There's a drink rail that stretches from the start of section 109 all the way over to section 101. So the drink rail, there's plenty of space there. And then there's a nice sidewalk that leads you all the way back to the outfield. And from the right field corner to about right center, a little past right center, almost center field, there's about 20 feet of concrete from the center or from the outfield wall outward. So plenty of space out there. If you have a standing room ticket and you're concerned about standing for the entire game, we are allowing you to bring in a lawn chair or a folding chair, something like that, into the game. And there'll be plenty of space in the grass areas or in the concrete in the outfield for you to put a chair down and enjoy the game.
Ryan Crisp is with us. We've got baseball coming up the next few days. Ryan is the Associate Athletic Director for Annual Giving, Ticket Sales, and Fan Engagement. So with the baseball park about to open, fans being able to watch Marshall baseball for the very first time in Huntington in a long time, now you got to start worrying about, all right, now we've got the next phase, and we've got minor league baseball. The last time we were together, we were waiting for the unveilment of the new name. It's Coal Cats. The Tri-State Coal Cats will be taking place right after Marshall baseball season. Anything similar? Because I know there's going to be some overlap between baseball, Marshall, baseball with minor league ticketing situation. Anything? You're partnered with the Appalachian League. What do we need to know there?
Yeah, I think the similarities you'll see is one is the apparel company that's inside the stadium is the same. So Mountain Mindful is doing the apparel merchandise sales for Marshall baseball as well as Coal Cat baseball. The concession stand, the concessionaire is the same, so that will be very similar products between the two. And then from a ticket standpoint, ticketing is going through the Marshall ticket office to start here as of right now, and the setup is the same in terms of you have your reserved seats in the main seating bowl in sections 101 through 109, and then you have your standing room options as well for the Coal Cat season. So, we obviously haven't talked since the name came out, but I love the name. I think the branding and the color scheme is super sharp. It relates it to Marshall, but also gives it its own brand. The term Coal Cats and the name Coal Cats is something, obviously coal is something in the state that has been a huge, huge deal. And I think one thing to remember is that, coal isn't done yet. There's work being done by our university and by President Smith for coal to be the future as well for West Virginia. And so just be on the lookout for that. And there's a reason why this name was chosen. And so not only due to the history in the state for coal, and the railroads running through this for coal, you can see every day still there's train cars running through full of coal in this town. But for the future and what our university is about to unlaunch here for the future of coal.
My guest, Ryan Crisp, we're here at the Henderson Center. He's the Associate Athletics Director for Annual Giving, Ticket Sales, and Fan Engagement. And, of course, you can go on herdzone.com for all those details for both baseball teams. We got basketball. It's still going on strong. The women, they're going to finish strong. They're going to win the regular season crown. I'm not jinxing that. They're going to be the number 1 seed, and hopefully they're going to win that tournament. And then we're going to be talking here in the next couple of weeks about tickets to the NCAA tournament. Same thing for the men, right? Let's just be positive here. The men, they've got a strong run in them. They've got to start tonight with JMU. Then Saturday, the TV game against App State. And then finally, they go on the road and then the tournament. As fans want to go to the tournament, what do they need to know? They need to go through, obviously, your department first if we want to get the best experience from the tournament, right?
Yeah, no, we will be able to sell tickets through our offices. Obviously, it'll be a pretty quick sale in terms of you find out on a Monday and you go and you play on that Friday. So it'll be a pretty quick sale. I think the latest projection I saw, which you never know with these projections, but had us going to Blacksburg and playing Virginia Tech, which I think would be a great option for our fans, an easy travel day for our fans. So I think that would be awesome to have the opportunity to go to Blacksburg. And yeah, let's hopefully they take care of the business the next couple of games, and we're cutting down nets in the Henderson Center next week for a championship. And then on the men's side, they obviously have a huge opportunity this next couple of games playing two of the top teams in the league, and we get them at home where it's a hard place to play and our fans bring the energy, and so we're excited to have the opportunity to get on a little run here, and let's see what we can do.
Now, tonight's game, of course, tickets still available, so if you want to get them now. But Saturday, what do you expect as far as walk-up ticket sales and any final special promotions, since it will be the last regular season game for the men?
Yeah, today we have a pom-pom giveaway and a trucker hat giveaway at the student gate, which is super cool. They've been super in demand. I've gotten more text about the trucker hats than I think any giveaway we've done. And then Saturday, we are expecting a sellout. We're getting close, so I would definitely purchase your tickets. Tough to tell when exactly we'll get there. I think obviously a lot of it depends on tonight's result, but we're moving in that direction for Senior Day and to honor, 4 seniors that will be participating in the Senior Day festivities.
Henderson Center, the place to be the next couple of days. Game tonight, game on Saturday. And, of course, again, a reminder, that's a 6 o'clock game. That got changed. Television opportunity, ESPN2. So be aware, if you show up at 4 o'clock, they'll let you in eventually, but you'll be here a little early. You still might want to show up at 4 o'clock. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. No, they obviously changed that, and it's a great chance to put our brand on a national stage in ESPN2 in a big time slot at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night. So it'll be great for our university, great for our basketball team, and great for our fans to show the world what we're made of.
Okay. Ryan Christmas with us. Answer a couple rumors for me here. First of all, Steve Cotton's not retiring, right? Because that was epic-level video that was put out on herdzone.com and all the social media accounts. Please tell me he's not retiring, right? That wasn't a grand send-off for him. He's still going to be the voice of the herd for years to come, right?
He is. He's not going anywhere. That was just 30 years of service to Marshall University. So he's not going anywhere, and Mr. Cotton will be back behind the mic again next year.
That was a fun little video you guys put together.
It was awesome. It was great. Obviously, anytime Steve gets to tell a story, he makes it pretty easy from a video standpoint. So it was great, and obviously he's had a lot of famous calls, and by the reactions on social media, very close to a lot of Herd fans' hearts when you hear his voice.
He'll be doing all the baseball games as well on ESPN Plus, so I'm excited about that. We're going to have select games on the radio as well. Jason Toy back in the studio is going to be doing a lot of those games, so I'm excited about that. We've got baseball on the radio, Marshall baseball on the radio. It's been a long time since we've had that. It makes it feel more real. It really does. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think anytime, even 3 years ago, our baseball games weren't broadcasted. They weren't on the radio. You couldn't, hear about them at all. And now we're going to have an option for ESPN Plus where anyone has the opportunity to watch it from anywhere in the world. And, with the Varsity app, anyone can listen to these games no matter where you are. So it's a great option for our fans and many different outlets to get the game.
Ryan Crisp is with me. He is a busy man. He's also the Associate Athletics Director of Annual Giving, Ticket Sales, Fan Engagement. Anything happening that maybe we should know about or start looking ahead towards?
I think the main thing is obviously baseball opening weekend, and then another big weekend to keep an eye out on is the April 19th, 20th, and 21st. It's spring game weekend for football. We're trying to do some different things there to enhance the spring game a little bit and make it a little more enticing for fans to come. And then also baseball and softball are both home that weekend. And so just a busy weekend and a busy time for the herd. And, March 1st, I encourage you to come out to the baseball stadium and check out the first pitch, Jack Cook Field. It's going to be an incredible day for Marshall University in the city of Huntington.
Ryan Chris, my guest. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you doing it. We'll talk next week. And do we need to come back here, just do the show here in the empty Henderson Center next week?
I think we should. Every Thursday.
Every Thursday? Just want to do Thursdays?
What is today?
Today's Wednesday.
I don't even know what day it is.
Today's Wednesday. See, that's how busy you are. I'll just come back. I'll set up. We'll do it center court. How about on the Big M?
With the spotlights?
With the spotlights. All right, underneath the scoreboard. Let's do it. All right. Thanks, buddy. Good talking to you.
All right, Paul. Appreciate it.
That is Ryan Chris. When we continue, another one of my good friends, Luke Creasy, is with us when we continue. The beat writer from the Herald-Dispatch joins us on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're back here at the Cam Henderson Center. Paul Swann, your host for today's edition of The Drive. I'm trying to figure out the playlist right now. This is not Dan D'Antoni's playlist. Maybe Luke Creasy from the HD side of things can help me. The acclaimed sports writer from HD Media. How you doing, buddy?
Good. This is very similar to the kind of music that I walked in when Cam Kirkman was shooting foul shots the other day. So I don't know if maybe, he said final 2 home games. I'm picking some of the playlists or what. But I also don't see. Yeah, they're staying right there.
Yeah, there he is. He's here. He's just he's sitting back watching.
He's probably wondering what he would play if he was in charge of the playlist right now.
Well, I mean, he is in charge of the play. He's probably making mental notes like, no, I don't like this. I don't like this. I like this. I don't like this. How you been?
Good. Busy. Always kind of a weird, busy time of year with basketball starting to wrap up, starting to look towards the postseason, and then, of course, with the spring sports going on, you got baseball, softball back in full swing, and track and field and swimming and diving, competing at conference, and so a lot going on in the world of Marshall athletics right now.
Yeah, good stuff from track and field, good stuff from swimming and diving. The programs are really starting to take off. I wasn't concerned about swimming and diving. I was curious to see how track would look.
Yeah.
And track's been pretty good so far, very consistent. You win a few events as well, a lot of gold medals coming home to Huntington. Yep. You finished 4th on the women's side. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Abby Herring continuing to do some great things. And you won the 5K. And then, of course, you've got John Mercer and the tennis crew that have another big test this weekend. They're going up to Maryland as their last non-conference match of the season. And they've done some really good things.
I had John on the other day, and then they lost a couple. So I don't know if John wants to come back. But I had Abby on, and then she shaved time off of her 5K mark. So I don't know.
Hey, if they do well, it's because of you.
I'll take it.
If they do bad, it's your fault.
It's my fault. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, usually that's how it works anyway.
Yeah.
If Marshall does well, everyone likes me. If Marshall doesn't do well, it's, just wake up and figure out where you're at right now.
That's fair.
We've got a must-win. Can I say that? Can I say must-win game here for the Thundering Herd?
I think they've been in must-win territory for a while now. The weird thing about Marshall's standing right now, they're 7-7 in 7th place right now in the league standings. And realistically, you could finish anywhere from 5th to 10th, depending on what happens these next 4 games. Obviously, the task not easy tonight or Saturday. You've got the 2 top teams in the league coming in, and kind of, obviously not a win-or-go-home scenario because everybody qualifies for that tournament, but you are fighting for seeding. I think the worst thing that could happen is you lose out. Maybe you end up in that 10th seed and then have to play every step of the way. You're fighting for a bye. And I think you need 1, maybe 2 more wins to do that. And if you can't grab one at home, you're going to have to do that on the road, which is even tougher against some of these Sun Belt schools. And Georgia State, Georgia Southern, who gave Marshall good games. But, I don't think must-win is a bad term right here. There's got to be a sense of urgency. And I think that if you're going to see that, tonight's the night. Big chance to get back at a team that beat you by 15 on their home floor down in Harrisonburg about a month ago in a stretch that Marshall really just wasn't playing well in that stretch. They're still not playing well right now, so a lot to prove.
3-game losing streak, losing against Troy, App, then Coastal. The last time you won was actually against Coastal. You go into that game thinking, okay, Marshall can get healthy quickly. Coastal had something a little bit more in store for them than the Herd thought. And here we are. Marshall's had a tough time on the road as well, not just winning, but winning on the road. So it's been a very difficult place for Marshall. And now you come in against a team that has won 4 out of the last 5 against the Herd and 2 of 3 since this series resumed in the Sun Belt. And it's one of the top teams in the league right now. So this isn't an easy game by any stretch of the imagination for the Thundering Herd. They need this game, and believe it or not, they still have a shot at that 4 spot as well. Some things are going to happen. They hurt themselves with losing at Coastal, but they're only 2 games behind Louisiana. Weird things will have to happen, but they still are technically in contention for that spot.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the what-if scenarios, I'll throw out a big what-if. What if Marshall beats Old Dominion at least once? And then you're looking at a very different complexion as far as what you have to do in order to secure at least one bye in the conference tournament. Old Dominion still their only 2 wins in conference play over this Marshall team. One on the road, one here in Huntington. You can't necessarily focus on that if you're the team. You're going out to play. You've got 4 games left, and each of them matter. I think back to something Obina said a few weeks ago, and that was, we've got to win the ones we should. And Saturday, by all means, was one they should have won. Came out a little bit flat in the second half and got down by double digits, and you just had a hard time fighting back into that one, though they did. But I think you've heard Dane Tony say before, when you use that much energy to fight back into a game, you've got to play perfect. And they didn't, and Coastal hit a couple big threes in those final minutes and pulled away. But, 4 games left. Still, I think it's got to be about what Marshall can do to get right and feel good heading to Pensacola. Because when you're down there, it's on a neutral floor. Anything can happen. And if you feel good, maybe you play good.
Speaking of getting better, feeling better about yourself, Obina and Chidley Killen still leads Marshall, scoring 15.5 points a contest, but those last 2 outings went 2 of 20 from the field, scored only 5 points. And then you bring him into this game. The last time he played James Madison, he had 5 points. So here's an opportunity for him tonight to not only get back to what we're used to seeing from him, but also do it against a team that really shut him down last time. That's going to be a big challenge.
Yeah, and I think it's all about what the adjustment is for him. I think when you look at that Coastal Carolina game, when they played here in Huntington, he had a career-high 30 points, and it was almost unstoppable. He hit 3 threes in that game, was a big part of the reason Marshall won that game by double digits. And then they go to Coastal Carolina. They made the adjustment on him, and then he finishes with next to nothing. And so I think you've got to look at that film from JMU, see what you did, what you might be able to do, and tweak some things in your own game to get back. But he's got to be aggressive on the boards. I think it starts there. I think the offense will come if he can start by creating some urgency on the glass. And 2 and 3 rebounds from Obina is not going to do it for this Marshall squad, who needs to utilize the size that they have down low. Obviously, Obina, Nate, Wyatt's playing well right now. If they can get going and really dominate the glass and take away some extra possessions and create some chances for themselves, I think Obina starts to open up a little bit more on the offensive side. He does his best work off the ball. I still think that he's not a guy that's going to spot up and take a guy to class from beyond the 3-point line just by spotting up. He's got to work off the ball to get those shots, and that's just what he hadn't been doing.
Cameron Crawford, are we going to see him? We saw him in the last game. He had 9 points, 3 of 7 shooting. You think we'll see more of him, or is it just going to be, basically roll the dice?
Paul, I would love to say I have an answer to that, but I just don't know. I still can't figure it out.
Nobody can.
Yeah, and he's come in and played some good minutes. Yeah, he's still turning the ball over some, but who's not on this team right now? Who's not missing shots? Who's not turning the ball over? And and maybe that's why we saw him against Coastal Carolina. But I still think he's probably one of the more athletic guys that can go get you a bucket when you need it. And if Marshall finds itself in that position tonight, I don't see any reason why Dan shouldn't play him. But I think part of that has to do with Ryan Nutter playing well. We saw this last year with Dan. He doesn't like to go too deep into the bench if he doesn't have to. And, he's probably only going to pull one or two guys off the bench. And right now the hot hand is Ryan Nutter and Wyatt Fricks. And so do you go deeper than that? Do you pull out a Kyson Pruitt if you need threes? Do you pull a Cam if you need some athleticism? I don't know. But that's been the wild card all year. And usually by, game 26 or 28, you have a general idea when you're going to see somebody in those situations. Just don't right now with Crawford.
9 players. That's all Dan used in that game. 9 players. And then you have Kim Caldwell on the flip side. She changes.
He uses 9 players in the first 5 minutes.
Right. It's a hockey shift for her. Yeah. You tag again. It's almost like tag team wrestling or hockey shift. Tag. You're in now.
2 very different philosophies.
Very different philosophies, and the team has an opportunity to clinch real soon that championship, that regular season championship.
Closing in.
That's going to be exciting. That's going to add to your workload because you're going to have women's and men's basketball. You and Tim Stevens might be tagging in, for double coverage on that reel. So they have a good shot at the NCAA. I'm not jinxing it, I hope, but they have a legitimate shot.
Yeah, I think when you look at what they've been able to accomplish, I still think they're going to have to win. And I've thought, and this is nothing, not to discredit anything that they have done to this point this year, just based off precedent. I think they've got to make an appearance in the conference tournament championship game to be able to be an at-large candidate for the NCAA tournament. And Kim Caldwell might hit us if she knew we were talking about this right now.
She's at Texas State. She's minding her own business.
But I definitely think that they're a dangerous team. The way they play, it's exciting to watch. It's effective. They've got girls that can handle the ball, girls that can shoot the three, and they've got a big contest down there at Texas State because that's just going to be one step closer to potentially clinching that Sunbelt regular season title, which they haven't done since '89.
Yeah, they're getting great senior leadership, and they've got Abby Beeman. She doesn't look like the most physical presence out there. She doesn't look like she's the biggest basketball player out there, but who wants to go up against her? She's good on defense.
Yep.
She's creative. She's leading the way in assists for this team, and you can see it in her eyes. You always look at a player or two, and you think, okay, that's the player you better stop because they look like they're going to run through you, and she's got that look right now.
Yeah, they do. And she's one of the most prolific scorers in, NCAA right now as far as active players, and she's shown that for Marshall. And what a great pickup she was for Tony Kemper a couple years ago, and then to get her to stay, good job by Kim Caldwell to do some recruiting there and make the pitch to keep her around because she has been kind of the heart and soul of that team this year through this run.
One more thing, and I'll leave you back to what you're doing down there on the desk. How about Rochelle Scott finding a home in the Sun Belt? That's an interesting dynamic. She's going to be at JMU here, so already I think Marshall JMU is going to be the game to watch, not only this year, but next year and maybe down the line.
I think that was probably one of the better games to watch anyway, just because of the way those two teams play. Very much a contrast of styles. Rochelle Scott might be the shortest player JMU has now, because I think everybody else is over 6 foot. After seeing him here in the Henderson Center, a couple weeks ago. But that's a good pickup for Shauna Reagan and that crew. Obviously they're familiar with her game. She averaged, she was the team's leading scorer last year and was an all Sun Belt selection, and led the team in scoring through the 6 games that she played this year. Actually, if you go to her zone and look up at the stat sheet, she's still one of the top averages in terms of scoring. But certainly an interesting dynamic when you look at that. It transfers within the conference aren't exactly uncommon. Yeah, that's a big pickup for James Madison, especially when you look at how competitive they've been in the Sun Belt anyway, how competitive Marshall has been in the Sun Belt this year and will be again next year, presumably. That'll be fun to watch.
He's Luke Creasy from HD Media, covering the game tonight for the Herald-Dispatch and all the HD Media properties. I will talk to you soon. We're just going to hang out here next week. We're just going to come set up on center court, just do the show. Just here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was for Ryan Crisp's benefit. Just do it center court.
Center court.
Right here, put the lights on him.
I like it.
Yeah, you can come as well.
I like it.
Luke Creasy.
I like it. And then I'm going to take Ryan Crisp one-on-one in a pickup game right beside you.
Ooh.
So you've got to angle the table towards the basket to do play-by-play.
Hey, let's make that a charity event. Luke Creasy versus Ryan Crisp, charity basketball.
I'm going to need the charity money to pay for medical bills afterwards.
Right, and I'll call the game alongside of Bill Cornwell coming up next.
I like it.
All right, Luke Creasy, my guest. Talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy. Bill Cornwell coming up when we continue on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Back here at the Cam Henderson Center, Paul Swann now with Bill Cornwell. We're going to get you set for Marshall and James Madison in just a few minutes as we will join everyone on 93.7 The Dog for our usual get-together on West Virginia and Appalachian Laborers District Council College basketball today. We got two more here at the Henderson Center, two more on the road, and then it's time to go down to Pensacola. And hopefully by that point, Marshall will be ready to go. But they got to get through two of the top teams in the league first to even make a serious run at it, Bill.
Yeah, Mr. Schedule Maker did no favors for Marshall when they said, well, here's your last two home games, Appalachian State and James Madison. And both of these teams will be coming in with 20 wins already on the season, 23 wins already for James Madison. They had an unbelievable non-conference season. It's been a little tougher sled in the conference season. They've had a couple of games I'm sure they felt that got away from them, but they're still right up there and still in the conversation to win the regular season title. And they are rock solid. If you don't remember the games last year and, of course, the game earlier this year in Harrisonburg, good fundamental team. They shoot the ball really well. Of course, that's something we're looking for Marshall to do a lot better. Disastrous week last week. The Herd shooting 33% in both of the games. Of course, both losses, Appalachian and Coastal Carolina. Got to get the shooting numbers up. Obviously, got to get better shooting from Cam Kerfman. He needs to be knocking his threes down. And, of course, the big question, Big O, Obina. 3 games down in the road trip, a combined 11 points, Paul. That is not Obina at his finest.
No, and that's after he went off and had that tremendous game against Coastal Carolina, and Marshall won that game. That was a career best for him, and then goes on the road, doesn't play Obina ball. And then I went back and looked at the game between James Madison and Marshall earlier this year. In that game, he was 1 of 11, and he only had 5 points. So he's had difficulty early on against James Madison, and he's had difficulty as of late. Those last 2 games, probably the worst performances I've seen from him in a long time.
Yeah.
And he's got to get that together tonight, because if he's on, I think Marshall's got a better shot in this one.
And you could sense in some of Coach Dan D'Antoni's comments in the weekly news conference on Monday that Obina's got maybe a little confidence issue that he needs to get over. And, he's had maybe after the one bad game, I think some, doubts kind of crept into him, and the performances continued. And, of course, another thing, you got to keep him on the court. He had some problems, I know, at least in one game last week, got it 2 fouls early in the first half, and he's going to have to sit the rest of the first half. So if he's not out there helping the team, it's a tough situation for the Herd, because he's an important cog in this team this year.
The question we're all asking, nobody has an answer. Cameron Crawford, are we going to see more of him? When he was in that Coastal Carolina game, I thought he did all right. 9 points, 3 of 7 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point line. That's 50%. You know Dan D'Antoni's a big fan of the three-point shot. And there you go. He put up some points and limited playing time. Do we get to see more of him tonight, or is Dan going to tighten that bench again?
You know, that's a good question. We shall see. You know, it seems to me, though, Paul, every time that Cam gets in the game, you know, sometimes it's feast and famine. Usually he makes some things happen, and he scores some points and give you some boost. But, of course, Coach also worries about some of the turnovers. And I know he had some turnovers down there at Coastal Carolina that I'm sure bugged Coach D'Antoni. And, again, playing within the system. That's been the constant harp with Coach D'Antoni regarding Cam Crawford.
Going to be a fun night here at the Cam Henderson Center. Gates are opening up, and there's already a line of kids with pom-poms making their way down the stairwell. I hope they're as loud as those kids on Education Day were for Kim Crawford. Probably not. These are older kids. They don't have the vocal capability.
These are the run of the herd kids, of course, part of that problem with Marshall basketball.
Yeah, but I tell you, if they can get close to that volume level of those other kids for Education Day, let's tell you right now.
You and I had a headache after that was over.
Man, my head still hurts from that one. It really was a tremendous home court advantage for Kim Caldwell's squad. So we're going to be back here shortly. I mean, really shortly. We're going to switch over to 93.7 The Dog, and we're going to have more of a formal, structured pregame. We're just having fun on this one. But I'm looking forward to this one tonight, Bill. Marshall needs this one. Must-win situation for the Herd. They're all must-win. They still get into the tournament. It's just where your position's going to be in the tournament. And they still have an outside shot at the 4 spot. An outside shot.
It's outside, but obviously you got to get some W's. At the worst, you want to get at least that one game bye.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here, but we will be back in 50 seconds, also on 93.7 The Dog. For our producer, Jason Toy, thanks to Luke Creasy, thanks to Ryan Chris for joining us today, and for Bill Cornwell, I'm Paul Swann. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.